Joining us in studio right now, John Hanlon is with us. John, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Casey, great to be back here.
And so you have two phones today. So we're going to start off with the Motorola Moto X. A lot of people have been waiting for this one. Big Motorola fan base out there. So tell us a little bit about this phone. It's kind of unique because, like, if you go to the website, it's like build your own.
Absolutely. So that's one thing that's unique about the Moto X. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because Moto X was also the name of last year's version. So we're talking about the Moto X 2014 here, which just came out in the last month or so. And they have one of the cool features is a Moto Maker, which was on last year's version also, which if you go on to Motorola's website, you can design the Moto X and customize it to your liking. So you can get different backs on it. The one I have here in my hands is it has the wood finish on the back. And you can change the colors. You can get it engraved on the back with your name or whatever you'd like. And you can customize it really well. And the Moto X line with the Moto Maker is the only thing like that. No other smartphone offers that kind of those customizable features like that. So it's really cool if you're into the different colors and bright colors and all that, and you want to customize it. That's the cool thing with this Moto X and with Moto Maker. But there's a lot more to it than that. Big 5.2-inch full HD screen on the Moto X, which is on par, about the same as what we're seeing. 5.2 inches, about average these days for Android phones. The new, in comparison to the new iPhone 6, the new iPhone 6 is 5.5 inches, so it's a little smaller than the new iPhone 6. But the iPhone 6 took a big jump up from the previous iPhones. And one thing that's pretty cool, and again, last year's version sort of had this, but the new Moto X takes it a step further, is that when you pull it out of your pocket or you turn it over on the table, there is the time pops up on the screen, and if you have any notifications, they will also pop up there too. So without even touching the phone, it just knows since you're picking it up, since you're moving it, then you're going to want to see what notifications you have. And another thing that's on that same line is if you just swipe your hand over it, it does the same thing.
Which you just did.
Yes, yeah. I just did it, and it's really cool that way. So if your hands are dirty or whatever, you want to see what notifications you have. Maybe you heard your phone ding. Is it an email or a text that I need to see? Well, you just swipe your hand over it. You don't even need to touch the phone.
Which is good if you're always, shoving food in your face, Tim.
As far as the camera on here, it's 13-megapixel camera, and it has the same thing, again, as last year's version, which is really cool, and the Moto X is the only one with it. If you twist the phone in your wrist twice, it opens up the camera, which is really cool. You don't even need to push any buttons on the phone at all. You just pick it up.
Which you just did.
Yep.
And again, all you did is you kind of flicked your wrist twice
and it
came right to the camera.
And it opens right up to the camera, which is really cool. If you take a lot of photos, that is something you'll use all the time. You'll get used to it instantly. You don't even need to push a button. Just the phone needs to be on. It also can record 4K video, which we've talked a lot about before. It's just the next step beyond HD. And the camera it's good. It's not the best smartphone camera out there. The iPhone is still leading the way as far as, especially the new iPhones are going to give you just a better, especially in low light, it's going to give you a better picture than.
And that's always the big thing. I mean, these cell phone cameras, they're all pretty good now, but the issue is the low light and how it is, because you don't want to get that grainy, film. And a lot of times your camera on your phone, you're using it in a bar, club, movie, that sort of thing. And so the low light is really important.
Yeah, low light's key with the photography, and the iPhone's going to give you better low light photos. But again, it's not that this camera's bad. It's just it's good. It's average. It's a great camera, but it's not the world's greatest out there. A couple downsides to the Moto X is it has no removable battery and no expandable storage, so no SD card, no micro SD card, which of course the iPhone doesn't have either of those either. Some phones do, some phones don't. We're getting to where it's about half and half with Android phones on whether they do or don't. But if that's something important to you and you are constantly on your phone and needing to switch out the battery, I mean, the great thing is that these phones, the battery is better with every single version. The battery's always getting longer, so they can get you through a day easily. But if you're, for whatever reason, just like to have the option of being able to throw in that extra battery, then obviously the Moto X is not for you. It's made by Motorola, which is currently owned by, though I think they're selling it off, but it's currently owned by Google, which means that this phone does not have a lot of the bloatware, it's called, a lot of the extra junk and applications that carriers add on. So it's basically pure Android on there. It's just the Android operating system, none of the extra stuff that a lot of people complain about slowing down the phone. And also because of that, you're going to get the latest Android updates much faster than something like the Samsung Galaxy S4 or the HTC One M8.
Because they have to get it, and then they've got to adapt it to their own version of it, and it just becomes, so you get a little bit slower.
So Google pushes it out directly to the Moto X, which is really good if you always want to have the latest updates, and it's going to make sure that your phone is always running as fast as possible with the best software possible.
Okay.
Forbes magazine actually called this the best smartphone on the market right now.
Really?
Yeah, they did. Their reviewers found that just because it has that great battery in there, they like the Moto Maker. Another thing is the price on this. On contract, it's only $100, which
is cheap.
It's cheaper than most of its counterparts, and then $500 off contract, and it's available on all the major carriers: Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, and AT&T. So, if you're on one of the major carriers, then you can definitely upgrade there. $500 off contract. So you can't, if you just walk in and buy it and you aren't up for a renewal of your contract, then that's what you're going to pay for it. It also has a front-facing speaker, which seems to me like common sense.
Yes, you talked about that when you brought the last one in, and because I'm an audiophile too, and that's huge.
Yeah, yep. The HTC One M8 has really good front-facing speakers. And the Moto X is copying that a bit, and it has front-facing speakers as well, which just makes sense. When you're watching a video, whatever you're doing, you want the audio facing you. You don't want it pointing the opposite direction, which is the norm for smartphones for whatever reason.
Or on the bottom, where you've got to cup your hand to get it to come at you. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt.
So great front-facing speakers. It also has something where, again, they're going for how you can access what you need to access, whether it's notifications or search or whatever, as easily as possible. And another way they do that is with Motorola Touch, which is where you can actually set this phone to any words that you say, 2 or 3 words or so. And when you say those words, it will it starts listening to your voice, and you can say, call Casey, or search for this, or this.
So instead of saying, okay, Google, or Siri, or something like that, it will whatever voice command you deem it.
Right. And the important thing here is that you don't even need to touch the phone. As long as the phone is on, you can say whatever the words you set it to, which you can set it to OK Google if that's what you want.
Okay.
And whatever you set it to, and then it will, it starts listening as soon as you say those words, which is pretty cool.
Very cool. All right. So now what about the video quality? Because I know you said the picture quality isn't. It's good, but it's not as good as some of the other phones out there. But what about the video quality? Because I know it's 4K, and by the 4K is not going to give you anything unless you've got a television that can handle it. But it is the next generation beyond 1080p, and it's fantastic. If you haven't seen a 4K television yet, I mean, go to Best Buy or somewhere and just look at them. I mean, they're amazing. So how is the video quality for the phone?
Well, video is great, and with 4K, basically you're just future-proofing the videos you take with it. So everybody may not have a 4K TV today, but down the road in a year or two, you will. And so the videos you take with this phone today are going to be at that quality level that's standard in a year or two down the road. And different applications, more and more sites and things are picking up on 4K. Like YouTube now supports 4K, so you can upload your 4K video directly to YouTube if you want to store it on there or play it on there. And again, like Casey said, it doesn't matter unless you have some kind of a screen or TV to watch 4K content on. If you just have a normal HD TV, then it doesn't make any difference. But it's, again, just future-proofing. So the video is great on it with that 4K. And we'll start seeing all smartphones coming out with 4K video, which we already are. Most of the major
most
phones.
of them are doing that. I mean, Netflix is streaming 4K now. I think Amazon Prime's rolling it out, too. I assume that Hulu is doing it for the television that have it. Now, I'm on the builder right now. So I'm on Motorola.com, and I'm doing the builder, and I've got the black face. I've got the leather. I don't know if it's real leather.
I don't think it is.
I'm assuming it is not. Yeah. So it's the leatherette, if you will, backing. But, and then you can have, like, the custom trim, which is, just little pieces along the phone that, are accent colors. And so I've got the red on there because I'm a Sith Lord, and that's how I roll. And you can upgrade, you can add cases to it, you can have it engraved, you can upgrade the memory like you were talking about earlier, and so you really do get to design your own phone. So if you're one of those people that really appreciates the beauty of the phone, you don't really want to put a case on it, that sort of thing, this is really going to appeal to you because it's highly customizable, like right out of the gate. I mean, it's really cool to be able to do that. Any secret missiles, lasers, swords, anything like that left in the phone?
Not really with this one. There's no. no really, the world's greatest feature on it. It just kind of combines a lot of the best things: great screen, full HD, great camera that's reasonable, that's on par with the others. That front-facing speaker, but there's no heart rate monitor or anything like that, like we've seen in some of the past ones.
I mean, it's basically just it's an upgrade over the last one, just a good, solid, all-around phone. But its gimmick is essentially that you can customize the look of it pretty much any way that you like. All right, so when we come back with John Hanlon, we're going to talk about the Nexus 6. Is that correct?
Yes, lots of Nexus news out today.
That's a big one. We'll talk about that coming up next right here on News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel. We're joined by John Hanlon, who has brought in the new Moto X. You just got done talking about it, but big news today, huge announcement for Google's Nexus 6. And when we say big news, we mean it two different ways. One, it's always big when the Nexus comes out. Two, this thing is massive. I mean, it's bigger than the Note 4.
It is. So 6 inches on the new Nexus 6 just announced today. And the Nexus line, if you're not familiar with it, is Google's official line of phones. So when we have the HTC and Samsung and all that, that's not those phones are running Android, which is made by Google, and updates are pushed out by Google, but those phones are not they are versions of Android, whereas the Nexus line is Google's official line. So news just out today, 6-inch Nexus 6, which is really big, larger than the Galaxy Note 4, which is the latest in the Note line, which has always been known as being,
which is massive.
Yeah, I mean, the really huge line from Samsung. And also with that is a 2K display, which I think the last phone I brought in here, the LG G3, had a 2K display. Mm-hmm. It's just about twice as good as 1080 HD, so it's 2,000 pixels opposed to 1080. So it's just a better, higher resolution screen on there. Again, 5.7 inch is the Note 4, and just for comparison, 5.5 inch is the iPhone 6, and we're talking about 6 inches now on the Nexus 6. And the funny thing is that the Nexus 6 looks almost identical to the Moto X, and the body is almost the same because Motorola is owned by Google. So it's a little interesting how that all works together, because they have the Moto X here, and then very, very similar is now the Nexus 6, but obviously it's much larger, and everything about the Nexus 6 is also better than the Moto X. So if you're looking at the Moto X versus the Nexus 6, the only reason you'd really go with the Moto X is if you like the smaller screen. And you would rather not have a 6-inch screen. But the Nexus 6 will also be the first phone running the new Android operating system, which
Lollipop.
Yes, called Lollipop, which again, because it's from Google, then both the Moto X and the Nexus 6 will be getting those updates quicker than other smartphones out there. It also has a pretty cool battery feature. Google says that for 15 minutes of charging, the Nexus 6 will run for 6 hours. So
really?
That's pretty
impressive.
Cool. Yes, and that also is part of the Lollipop update, Android update, is some features to the software that affect battery life. So it's supposed to make the battery life, I believe, 30% longer. So software and hardware, plus the Nexus 6 also has a giant battery inside there. The Nexus 6 will be available on all carriers, and they say release date sometime by the end of October. Availability will then be beginning of November. And the price is also really good also. $49 on contract, which we were just talking about the amazing price of the Moto X, at $100 on contract, but you've even got, now it's half that for the Nexus 6. Unfortunately, the off-contract price is a little pricey.
That's where it goes up. It jumps up. So they want you on contract to get this. How much are you saying?
Is it over 8?
It's not over 8.
No,
okay.
It's close to 7.
Yeah, okay. we're looking at $650 for the Nexus 6.
Wow,
and that's compared to $500 for the Moto X, which is about average $550, but $650 is on the high end, definitely. But if you're on contract, $49, you can't beat that. That's amazing.
And because we were just talking about, it's clear that Google with their phones, even if they, because Motorola builds their phones for them. Right. But with Google, they really believe in speakers on the front of the phone. This one has dual front-facing speakers, so you get obviously it's bigger. You've got more space to add more sound on there. So sound quality should be pretty interesting on this thing when we actually get it in hand. You don't have it with you. It was just announced today. Yeah. So once John gets it, he'll come in. We'll all ooh and ah over it. It's got the Snapdragon 805, great quad processor. Snapdragon's great. It's developed a reputation within the smartphone community. And again, that 13 megapixel camera with some HDR built into this. I'm just kind of reading from the Nexus website right now, which is google.com/Nexus/6.
They also added image stabilization, which was one of the features missing from the Moto X for some reason. Reviewers were trying to figure out why they kind of left that off there, because that's a standard feature for most smartphones.
Sure.
But with the Nexus 6, you get that back. So it's very similar to the Moto X, but it's larger screen and basically a better everything.
Now, and this is kind of where, and Android people have been really picking on the iPhone 6 Plus for this. Okay, yeah, you fought against it. You made fun of it for a number of years. Now you finally put out a phone that competes with the Note, but you don't have any of the features of the Note. So you basically have a giant phone. The Note isn't just a giant phone. It's a giant phone that is designed for a purpose. The iPhone 6 Plus isn't. It's just a bigger version of iPhone. Is this going to be a purpose-driven giant phone, or is it just kind of like the Moto X, only bigger?
That's what it appears to be so far. And again, with Google, they're going to have just the pure Android vanilla experience with Lollipop on there. So you're not going to have any additions as far as what we know right now, unless they when it comes out, we
very
get
basic.
More.
I mean, even on their announcement page, it's still very basic.
Yes. Yeah, this is just all brand new today in the last 6 hours or so. But what we've seen so far is that it's just pure Android and not anything added on top. As Casey said, with the Note 4, you get the stylus built into the bottom of the phone, so it's designed for a giant screen. It's not just a phone that they made a giant screen added onto. It's designed for that whole idea of taking notes, and you can also do
document work with it.
Right.
And for me, I tell people, for me with the Note, when you're playing with the Note and you're looking at the stylus, like if somebody sends you a document and you just want to pull one little chunk out of that document, like maybe one bar graph, you don't want to save the whole thing, you can. And that creates its own separate image, and then you can add it and import it into a whole other document yourself if you wanted to do something. So for business people, it's really good. For real estate people, it's really good. And I love big phones just because it's a big screen, playing video games, watching movies or whatnot. But the thing that always set the Note apart was that it had purpose-driven, specific apps just for that type of phone, for its size. And now we've got these other really massive phones that are great. They're good phones, but they don't seem to have a reason for a lot of people who might have been considering going to a larger phone to really want to jump ship if they've been looking for it. Obviously, Apple fans are going to love, the iPhone, but maybe they're going to opt for the 6 as opposed to the 6 Plus just because there's really nothing additional there. You know what I mean?
Right. And the 6 Plus is 5.5 inches again. And one more little bit of phone news just out in the last couple days is the Droid line from Verizon, which has always been super popular. In fact, a lot of people get confused between Droid and Android. Well, Android is the operating system. Droid is the phone line.
Yeah.
So
they paid a lot of money to be able to say Droid.
Yes. So when you call every Android phone a Droid, well, that's not exactly correct. A new Droid phone out called the Droid Turbo. Not a lot known about this either at this point. 5.2-inch 2K screen, so a little bit smaller than what we were looking at with the Moto X, and considerably smaller than the Nexus 6. And that's launching October 28th, and since it's the Droid line, it's Verizon only, but we'll definitely keep an eye on that as well.
I don't know if people have picked up on this, John, but it looks like there's an awful lot of phones that are coming out right around Christmas shopping time. So we're looking at that.
I'm sure that's purely an accident.
Totally coincidental. Of course, we're dealing with the Nexus 6 pre-orders late this month.
Yep.
So you can start pre-ordering it then. You got the Turbos pre-ordering late in the month, and you start doing your shopping in November. So they'll get out there. They'll get any bugs out early November, and then by the time Black Friday rolls around, you'll be able to buy it for somebody or yourself. And I'm still waiting on Project Aura, which is going to be the 3D print modular supported phone from Google, and they're anticipating a December or a January launch on that thing. They're not going to make the Thanksgiving deadline, and then I'll be in the market for a new phone. So it'll be really interesting to see exactly what comes out here over the next couple of months. But one thing that we have noticed, it used to be you had 2, maybe 3 phones that were really worthy of your money. We've got a lot worthy of your money right now. So, I mean, that gap has really been bridged, and it all kind of depends on what you're looking for. But it's hard to find a bad phone now. It really is. So
exactly. Go into the carrier store for whatever your carrier is and try them out. You've got every option out there with the LG G3, the Galaxy S5, the HTC One M8, and now you've got the Moto X and the Nexus 6. I mean, it just goes on and on. Whatever you're looking for, combine large screen, small screen, combined with whatever software features or little things like the screen that turns on when you turn it over, or wave your hand in front of it. If that sounds like a really cool feature and that's really important to you, you can combine that with what you're looking for.
And it seems like it's getting a little bit more difficult to have that signature feature on a smartphone also. So I guess they're actually going to have to start adding freaking lasers, man. If they don't add lasers, I don't know what we're going to do to separate the various phones. But John, it's always a pleasure. Again, you can find John online at jhanlon.net. We'll link to it on our Facebook page as well. We'll put it in the daily show prep. And, of course, you'll be able to download this podcast a little bit later on the website by going to 953mnc.com, clicking on the Casey Hendrickson tab. Yes, I'm doing some updates on the back end, so it's running a little bit slow and inconsistent right now. I apologize about that, but it will load. So if it doesn't load once, go back in 10 or 15 minutes and load it again. John, it's always a pleasure, buddy. Thanks a lot, man.
Great to be here, Casey.